Okay. I don't know how much you all missed. I don't know how much you all missed. We're going to go back. Um, Hopefully, I pray that the Most High allowed this to go all the way through. All right. Um, Let me say this. Well, let me do the lesson, then I'll talk to you about it after the lesson. The fact of the matter is that the whole world have been deceived. Not just black, not just white, not just Puerto Rican, not just Chinese, not just Asian, not just Hispanic, not just African. The whole world have been deceived. And it's our job as disciples in Christ to bring forth the truth. Now, the only disheartening thing about doing this work and revealing truth is that even the people who become awakened to the truth use their understanding to be divided. They use their understanding to take down and to work against Christ's agenda and bringing the people together to fight against evil. All right? So, just a few elect that out there that understands this. We all just need to put our pride to the side and come together before it's too late. That's what the truth is. The truth is not just knowing the understanding, it's coming together and acting on the information to stand with Christ. But let me get back to what I was saying as far as serving the Most High opposed to serving Mammon, and the fact that in the turn of what we would call the 20th century, the Jewish powers of the synagogue of Satan sent a campaign against God's people in America through Christianity. It is what they call the age of Reformation. Okay, where they aim towards destroying God's people, knowing that the people in the Americas, God's people, would wake up. And through that awakening, would charge and awaken the rest of the earth. So they aimed all these false religions and gave America the freedom of religion, aimed it towards destroying God's people so that they can be divided before their calling. So let's just focus on the mark of the beast real quick. Some people say that the mark of the beast comes from Sunday law. It's the Sunday law, like it will be instituted through government to force people to go to church on Sunday. It's utterly, I'm perplexed that people even believe this. You're forced to go to church on Sunday. How can that be the mark of the beast? And that origin came from this dude, William Miller. Let's get a picture of him again and see if it will allow us to actually show them who this guy is. And this guy have Jewish descent. Now, mind you, Jewish people don't believe in Christ. So I don't understand how they become the authority to fund churches and to fund Christianity when they don't believe in Christ. Now, I don't know what made this guy an authority on anything. He was sent from out of Europe to deceive the people in America. Now, I think her name is Ellen G. White. This guy, after Miller, came Ellen G. White and her husband, which was a Mason. But the guy who is responsible for the building in the beginning of Seventh-day Adventist and Sunday law, his name is William Miller. Do your research. William Miller predicted that Christ would come in 1843. When Christ didn't come in 1843, he said his calculations was wrong. He'll be around a year later. He'll be around in 1844. That didn't happen. When that didn't happen, and people started to realize, even though this guy had some level of historical background and understanding, that he was typically a false prophet, someone that was sent to deceive the people. But because of his teachings, Ellen G. White and her husband later on down the life grabbed onto his teachings and continued what we call the Seventh-day Adventists. And they claimed her to be the prophetic voice of prophecy, spoken of in Revelations, to deflect people off of this false prophet, William Miller. A black woman who was married to this Mason. And it was their core doctrine so that to make people believe that the mark of the beast would be something instituted and disconnected from spending. They wanted everyone to believe that the mark of the beast is Sunday law. Now, there's no place in the scriptures that tell us that making someone worship on a Sunday is the mark of the beast. And I'm still waiting for that information. But in the meantime, I'm going to pick it up where we left off at in Matthew 24, discussing the coming of our Lord and things we must look forward to, and actually showing us at the very end of this teaching what is the mark of the beast and how we can identify it and understand it according to scriptures alone. Read.
St. Matthew chapter 24 verse 1. And Yeshua went out and departed from the temple, and his disciples came to him for to show him the buildings of the temple.
Go ahead.
And Yeshua said unto them, See ye not all these things? Verily I say unto you, there shall not be left here one stone upon another, that shall not be thrown down.
We're in Matthew 24 and 1 on down. He says, look at this temple. We're going to show you what the mark is. Anything you want to know about the mark of the beast, you will have before this lesson is done. We're going to go into the Greek and show you exactly what defines a mark and what is it. So there will be no questions about it. And if there's any questions after the lesson, we'll be more than happy to answer them. We're going to let you know what the mark of the beast is. Now, whether or not you believe it, it's up to you. But I'll tell you this, and I can stand by this. There will never be a Sunday law instituted as the mark of the beast in the earth. That will never happen. Okay? So if you're waiting for that, you can find that in the same room that the Antichrist is in, bringing forth the rapture. They're all in the same bubble, in the same room, and all those doctrines come from the same place. It's a Masonic teaching to divert people from the true coming of our Lord. These doctrines came up and sprang up the same exact time, and that's no coincidence, by Masons who are under the same agenda to destroy God's people. All right, we don't deal with philosophy. Colossians 2 and 8 says, beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit. These what you would call mid 20th century or early 20th century prophets or professors was nothing more than philosophers on the Bible. They wasn't teaching precept and teaching you who the people of the Bible are. We're going to show you what the mark of the beast is. So whatever we thought it was is not going to matter once we prove what it is. Okay? We're going to show you what the mark is. Read.
St. Matthew, chapter 24, verse 3.
Go ahead.
And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, Tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming?
What shall be the sign of thy coming? Read.
And of the end of the world.
And of the end of the world. What world? Esau's world. How do we know it's talking about Esau's world? Go to 2nd Ezra 6 and 9. What verse did you leave off there so they can stick with us?
Verse 4.
We left off at Matthew
Verse 3.
24 and 3 when the disciples asked Christ, when shall the sign of your coming be and the end of the world? We're going to 2nd Ezra, the 6th chapter, and the 8th and 9th verse to show you what world it's talking about, because the earth will be here. It's talking about the fall of Esau's world. How do we know this? Read.
2nd Ezra, chapter 6, verse 8. And he said unto me, From Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the hill of Esau.
Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau. The head is the top, the foot is the end. Read.
Verse 9. For Esau is the end of the world.
Esau is what?
For Esau is the end of the world.
Esau is the end of the world. Now read Matthew 24 and 3. And we're going to read, no, stay there. Read it.
St. Matthew chapter 24, verse 3. As he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, Tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming and the end of the world?
The disciples asked, when shall be the end of the world? Who is the end of the world? Read.
2nd Ezra chapter 6, verse 9. For Esau is the end of the world.
That's how we know who Esau is today. Esau is the end of the world. He is the one that would be ruling at the end. What world? The world that the disciples is asking Christ, when will this world end and be the sign of your coming? Who was ruling when the disciples were asking this question? The Romans. Who are the Romans? Idumeans. Idumean is a Greek word for Esau or Edom. So what was talking about Edom's world. Read.
And Jacob is the beginning of it that follows.
And Jacob's rulership and power and dominion starts right after Esau's world falls, without separation. That signifies Jacob taking hold of Esau's heel. It's connected. It's without separation. No sooner as Esau fall, Jacob's dominion will start with Christ at the helm. Okay? Read.
St. Matthew, chapter 24, verse 4. And Yeshua answered and said unto them, Take heed that no man deceive you. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many.
Many shall come in Christ's name, saying they're Christ. That's Christians. Christians, the biggest deception to turn people to Satan was Christian followers. So the Jewish people, in order to deceive you, they financed the Christianity we are learning today, to move everyone into the New Age movement, which is the belief that we are all gods and that there is no real God. That's why Christianity was instituted, and it was funded by the Jewish powers. Many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. That's Christians. Millions have been deceived through that European Christianity we see today, that have deceived the whole earth. Read.
Verse 6. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars.
Hear of wars and rumors of wars. That was talking about the time we live in today. We're in a war, and now you're hearing about another war. Each day, it don't just surprise anyone to hear about another war. It's just like hearing any news, like what the weather is tomorrow. It's like hearing sunshine. Wars is a natural part of news now. Wars and rumors of wars. Read.
See that ye be not troubled. For all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet.
The end is not yet, read.
Verse 7. For nation shall rise against nation.
That's nationality against nationality. That's race wars. That's being fueled by the Jewish powers today. See, Christ understood what they would use to divide the people. So since he knew this, he said, listen, look out for these things. You're going to have some people in charge of things that will divide the people, that will cause racial tensions and national tensions. So these wars are funded to destroy the fibers of the earth, to destroy the morality of the people. Who's doing this? Who's funding this? Read.
For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom.
That's one empire against another empire. Who's funding this? The EU is funding this. What source or resource is they using to control the earth? The money. Who's controlling the money? The banks. Who own the banks? The Rothschilds and the Rockefellers. The Idumeans and the Jewish powers that worship the Kabbalah and the Talmud. Read.
And there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in divers places.
So if you set up a capitalistic society in which you can control the earth through resources, through taking resources, eventually it will cause famine. If you set up a corporation and your corporation is stationed in another place, and you're in a rich land, but yet you're not giving the people in that land who you're controlling and you destroy through wars resources, you're ripping all the resources from them and empowering your land and your resources, you're making famished people. You're starving the people out. Because they're not living on your ground, they're not able to take advantage of your capitalism. So they're separated because they can't get a passport to get over to take advantage of your lifestyle. So you're being raped, destroyed, and killed by this corporate machine that Satan set up under the Jewish powers. You've destroyed other countries through war. You're raping the resources, and then you're not letting the people in the country that you're raping benefit from the resources. You're bringing it into your country. That causes famines. And you know what? They got a game for that too. They can, you know what? They can get paid off of that too. No sooner they see a famished child, they'll bring the cameras in. They'll bring the cameras in and show a cute little kid that's poor, that they made poor. And then they will publicize that for sympathy to you. And you being raped with zero money yourself, you will still have enough sympathy to send money back to these people who will never get it. So they get paid on both sides because they control the finances in the banks and the trade of money. So they'll get paid on every side. They love famine. They can get paid off of famine. They work both sides. The Most High knew these people. Christ knew that these people would be in control and wouldn't care about anything. Look what they did to Haiti. Bill Clinton and George Bush pops out of nowhere and say, listen, don't send food, don't send rations, don't send clothing, don't send medical supplies, send money. Read.
Verse 8. All these things are the beginning of sorrows.
All these things are the beginning of sorrows. Whose sorrows? Our sorrows. Because these things are aimed towards a people. These acts that the Jewish powers and Amalek have constructed within the earth is aimed towards exterminating the woman's seed. Read.
Verse 9. Then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted.
Here's the next thing. Those that belong to Christ as teaching truth, understand that you will be delivered up. Read.
And shall kill you.
And people will be martyred in this time for truth. That will happen. We must prepare ourselves to understand that death is part of this work. Read.
And ye shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake.
And those that are with Christ, you will be hated. People are not going to love you. They're going to hate you. Read.
Verse 10. And then shall many be offended, and shall betray one another.
That's the time we're in now. People who was just friends with you, now they're betraying you, giving you up and saying all types of nasty things about you. People that you thought was your friends. We're in that time now. Read.
And shall hate one another. And many false prophets shall rise, and shall deceive many.
I need you to go down. We already read that. Go down. What verse you at here?
11.
I need you to go down to read the 21st verse. Let's start there.
Verse 21.
Go ahead.
For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time.
Go ahead.
No, nor ever shall be.
So all this will lead up to a great tribulation in which God's people are being oppressed. Hence, FEMA coffins, FEMA, orchestrated military against the people, war on terrorism. This is aimed towards a heightened tribulation in the earth, aimed towards God's people that are following Christ. Now, this is not aimed towards Christians. They could care less about Christians. Because Christians really don't need to read the Bible to believe. They don't have to believe the Bible. They look at the Bible and totally discount the Bible based on their doctrine. So they're not worried about Christians. They're worried about those in Christ with the knowledge and understanding of the Bible, that keep the commandments and the testimony of Christ. That's the weapon against the New World Order. That is the weapon against the New World Order. Crisis. Those that belong to Christ, that follow his commandments, that use the name of the Most High, that invoke the Most High and Christ, that teach the truth of the Most High and Christ. That's who they fear, because when our back's against the wall, Pharaoh can be on one side with his army, and the Red Sea can be on the other side. But our Father will deliver us. That's who they fear. So we're not afraid of this tribulation. Christ said these things will come. We will operate within this tribulation. We will be converting people and baptizing people within this tribulation. Because they cannot touch any of the elect that the Most High will. If the Most High don't allow them to touch us, they cannot touch us. Period. Read.
Verse 22. And except those days should be short.
So Satan got less time than he thought he had. He had less time. Read.
There should no flesh be saved, but for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened.
For Israel's sake, the Most High is going to shorten the European power's time. He's going to shorten Satan's time and rule. So he had less time than he thought. Read.
Verse 23. Then if any man shall say unto you, Lo, here is Christ, or there, believe it not.
I need you to go down 3 verses down.
Verse 26.
26th verse, read.
Wherefore, if they shall say unto you, Behold, he is in the desert, go not forth.
So if they try to make some fake blue beam prophecy to say that Christ is coming, and you notice in the media, in the mainstream media now, they're pushing the possibility or the thought of alien life form connecting with what you would call international leaders or diplomats and presidents. They're opening the channels so that people can believe in alien beings or something coming out of the sky. They're actually prepping people for something. So Christ says, listen, no matter what they're prepared, don't listen to none of this stuff. So when people ask me about Project Bluebeam, when people ask about these different things, I'm like, who cares? We just have to get the number of our people that's going to be saved in that wilderness. We just have to teach the truth of Christ and get as many people into the safe haven so that we can be protected with the Most High and receive that power when it's time. That's our focus. We don't care what they're planning, because the majority, all they're planning is for straight deception and to keep the people still. And to keep you still. Read.
Verse 26. Wherefore, If they shall say unto you, Behold, he is in the desert, go not forward. Behold, he is in the secret chambers, believe it not. For as the lightning cometh out of the east, and shineth even unto the west, so shall the coming of the Son of Man be.
So Christ is coming from the east. And when he come, every eye shall see. He will be the only light coming out of the heavens. On top of that, at this time, Babylon the Great, at this time when Christ returned, would have already been judged through war. Right now, America is totally expendable to the powers. The European powers have used America for what it needed America for. And now America is expendable, and the European powers are separating themselves from America as we speak. They have blamed everything on America. So just like Revelation 17 says, eventually the 10 horns will come together and burn the whore. Okay? They're going to link in with these other powers on the other side of the Atlantic. They don't have no allegiance with America. Their allegiance is with Satan. And as long as America upheld Europe, it was fine. But now the European powers do not need America. Don't forget, America don't own banks. The bank that funded America came from the Bank of England. England owns America. It's a corporation. America is expendable, and God's people have woken up there. They can't be used like they were used 20 years ago, 50 years ago, 100 years ago. You cannot be used to build the new world order. You are expendable. And Judah is waking up. The Most High is waking up Judah every moment in America, every minute, and they can't control it. So they want to put a lid on it. Soon, the European powers will separate themselves from America, and they're going to allow these wars to go forth. And America will use those FEMA coffins. America will use the nuclear missile again. America will use high, what you would call euthanization programs to destroy people there. All this is going to happen. This is the heightened tribulation that Christ is speaking about. Read on.
Verse 28.
Go ahead.
For wheresoever the carcass is, there will the eagles be gathered together.
So wherever the carcasses is, the eagles are gathered together. And the carcasses are being gathered in the Valley of Jehoshaphat, which is the Middle East. The Most High is preparing all these armies that come right in the Middle East to be used for food, bird food. So all you brothers and sisters that are looking to join the armed forces, it's no time to be joining the armed forces as of now. Read.
Verse 29. Immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven.
Go ahead.
And then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn.
Then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn. All the families and tribes of the earth will mourn. Why? Because these families are really not looking for the second coming of Christ. They're in their kingdom. They don't want Christ to come back. They're going to mourn when Christ hits the atmosphere. Because Christ is coming back for his people. To raise his people. The people in which all the nations have their feet or their foot on their neck. Read.
And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. And then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn. And they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory.
With power and with great glory. Christ is coming back with full power. And you would never guess who he's going to give this power to. So at the last moment when all is lost and we think that there is no hope, the same as when Pharaoh was bearing down on our people coming out of Egypt, when we was on our way to the land of Canaan. At the last moment, Christ is going to appear. Read.
Verse 31. And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds.
That's when Christ will gather the elect from the four winds. The four winds is the four parts of the earth. North, east, west, north, and south. He's going to gather all his elect that are in the earth. And in Isaiah the 11th chapter lets us know exactly the places Christ is going to gather the people from. America is not one of those places. America have to go out through war. It was built on war. It must fall through war. Read.
Verse 32. Now learn a parable of the fig tree, and his branch, when his branch is yet tender.
So the Lord said, we must examine the fig tree when the branch is tender. Now think about this fig tree. Read.
When his branch is yet tender, and putteth forth leaves, ye know that summer is nigh.
You know that summer is coming based on this particular plant. Read.
Verse 32. So likewise ye, when ye shall see all these things.
So we see all the things that we've just read in Matthew 24. Nation against nation. Wars, rumors of wars. Earthquakes in diverse places. The love of many shall wax cold. When we shall see all these things, now we know it's a sign that Christ is near. Read.
Verse 33. So likewise ye, when ye shall see all these things, know that it is near, even at the doors.
Even at the door. Christ is at the door. So only a few things need to go down at this point. See, and I'm going to, let me tell you, it doesn't matter how much we try to gloss this over. And I'm going to just focus on America right now. America is on the decline, big time. And there's no way possible with the debt America have incurred for it to dig out of this hole. It's impossible. The other countries have now released their connection to the American dollar, like China. Because they understand the country, it'll take 200 years to get America out of its current state. And the people will not voluntarily help them do this because the people are now being awakened. So the whole country is expendable. The whole thing. So there's no holding up America. There's only a few jobs that are really thriving in America at this point. The jobs that do with globalization, that have markets outside of America, and what we would call security jobs, law enforcement jobs, jobs that allow the citizens to enslave and kill each other and shoot each other and imprison each other and kill each other. Those are the jobs that are open. Law enforcement. Why are they hiring so much law enforcement? Because the more the money dry up, the more crime. And of course, in the medical field. In the medical field. Because people need to get healed. When people getting shot, killed, stabbed, but there's very little jobs in other areas. See, but some people don't understand is even those in the medical field have signed agreements that they don't even understand. That through the act of what we call martial law, all their talents and gifts have to be voluntarily used for government. That means they can keep you in the hospital working for days at a time and don't have to promise you anything. Okay? That's coming. Read.
Verse 34. Verily I say unto you, this generation shall not pass till all these things be fulfilled.
Go ahead.
Heaven and earth shall not pass, heaven and earth shall pass away, but my word shall not pass away.
The Lord says heaven and earth would pass away first before his word is passed away. His word is going to stand. Read.
Verse 36. But that day and hour knoweth no man.
That day and hour knoweth no man. So what's up with these guys who are predicting Christ coming, like William Miller, a Mason, like Charles Taze Russell, a Mason? Who are these people telling others when Christ is going to return? Actually giving them dates that show you that they're not authority. They don't know this Bible. Christ says no man knoweth the day or the hour. We can only go through the signs to know the coming of our Lord. Through the signs. Read.
Verse 36. But of that day and hour knoweth no man.
Go ahead.
No, not even the angels of heaven, but my Father only.
Go ahead.
But as the days of Noah were.
The Lord, now listen to this clearly. As the days of Noah were. Read.
So shall also the coming of the Son of Man be.
It's going to be just like the days of Noah in parts of the earth. While all these signs are operating and Christ is at the door, what people will be doing? All the signs is in the air. Read.
Verse 38. For as in the days before the flood, they were eating and drinking.
People were eating, drinking. Man, look, I can still go to a restaurant. I can still go and see the ball game. I can still go get a beer. Christ is not coming. People were eating and drinking. Read.
Marrying and giving in marriage.
They were marrying and giving in the marriage. They were still dealing with the regular rituals of today. The regular goings and comings of the day. Read.
Until the day that Noah entered into the ark.
One day Noah got in that ark. Read.
Verse 39. And knew not until the flood came and took all them away.
So people are not going to realize it until the destruction and FEMA and the military is rounding them up and destroying them. That's when they're going to start realizing, oh, well, I think something is wrong here. When the elect are actually moved out of the way, and then the Most High start letting the winds come down on that particular country, that's when people are going to start looking at it. They're going to start saying, well, you know what? I should have been doing something. Read.
So shall also the coming of the Son of Man be.
This is how the coming of the Son of Man be. People are looking for this one great sign, and there's a series of signs that we can pinpoint to know Christ is at the door. Some people are waiting for something big to happen, but when something big happens, you will not be able to readily move from one place to the next. You will not be readily able to do anything to protect yourself when the big thing happens. All power will be taken out of your hands to do anything for yourself. Read.
Verse 40. Then shall two be in the field, the one shall be taken and the other left.
There shall be two in the field. One shall be taken and another left. That's when Christ returns. Read.
Verse 41. Two women shall be grinding at the mill. The one shall be taken and the other left.
Go ahead.
Watch therefore, for ye know not what hour your Lord doeth come.
Now we must watch. Watch what? Watch the prophecies contained in Matthew 24. Read.
Verse 43. But know this, that if the good man of the house had known and would watch the thief would come, he would have watched and would not have suffered his house to be broken up.
If you knew what time the thief was coming in, you would have prepared. So there's a lot of good people out there that actually know this is true, but saying, well, listen, I know it's not going to happen yet because I have time. I'm not going to do any preparation now. Because I'm so special, the Lord going to give me this particular sign when it's time. He gave us the signs. Read them. You're living in the signs. You have to be prepared to separate yourself from your money, depend on the Most High, and go wherever the Most High need you to go to continue doing His bid within this earth. That's it. You must give up your life to gain a life in the kingdom to come. And I know some people like to play the middle. Yeah, I understand Christ is real and I believe in Christ, but I need this nest egg just in case. You better put your nest egg all the way on the side of the kingdom of heaven. That's where your nest egg belongs. Because this earth wasteth away. America is flat broke. It's flat broke. Okay? There's more I want to show, but I'm going into the mark of the beast in a second. But I want to read this also. Read this. Go read.
Verse 44.
Go ahead.
Therefore, be ye also ready, for in such an hour as ye think not the Son of Man cometh.
In the hour you think he's not coming. Read.
Verse 45. Who then is a faithful and wise servant, whom his Lord hath made ruler over his household, to give them meat in due season? Blessed is that servant, whom his Lord when he cometh shall find him so doing.
So when Christ come, and you're supposed to be working in his vineyard, you better be working when he come. There will be no excuses. You better be working. If there's some work you're supposed to be doing for the Most High, when Christ returns, you better be in it. So regardless of what people might think and what they say and listen, these people in this earth are not paying you. When Christ returns, be working. Have some works. Read.
Verse 47. Verily I say unto you, that he shall make him ruler over all his goods. But if that evil servant shall say in his heart, my Lord delayeth his coming.
So you have some servants saying, well, my Lord, the Lord is not coming. I can continue doing what I've been doing. He's not coming. Read.
Verse 49. And shall begin to smite his fellow servants, and to eat and drink with the drunken. The Lord of that servant shall come in a day when he looketh not for him, and in an hour that he is not aware of, and shall cut him asunder, and appoint him his portion with the hypocrites. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth.
And the weeping and gnashing of teeth is hell. And the weeping and gnashing of teeth are for those brothers and sisters who knew but did not act on what was given. They knew what was going on but didn't prepare. Figured, okay, I have time. And see, we get this all the time. People ask all the time, understand that you can't give a specific date on something, but let us know according to what you've been seeing. We need you elders to send us a letter or tell us, when do you think things are really going to happen and which I need to prepare? I can't give you nothing more than what Christ just said. And if you don't know what time, if somebody got to tell you what time you're in, there's not much we can do for you anyway. Christ told you the time we're in. The only thing we can do now is to prepare for what's about to happen. That's the only thing we can do at this point. What are they going to do? There's been a lot of space between so-called the big 911 that changed everything within the country. 911 changed the world. That's what George Bush told you. And it did. They used to blame Arabs, but now the Arabs are not the problem anymore. It's being aimed towards the people they were looking to destroy from the beginning, Jacob. So, it's been a long space since so-called 911. They need something real big to happen to bring forth the mark of the beast within America. I'm going to answer your questions. Just hold your questions for me. This next big thing is about to happen in America. Once it happens, all authority goes to government. They don't care what the citizens say at this point. They've empowered and have financed all the security measures and all the security people that would actually secure America for the New World Order. They put the FEMA guys in place. They've put border control in place. They have used the thing that happened with the waters to put Canadian and foreign troops all on the eastern coast. They're poisoning the water. They've done everything they can to dumb down the people. And this next thing happens, people are not going to be able to readily leave and go wherever they want to go within the earth. Then, at that time, you have people that owe debt, that have to pay their debt. There will be debt camps for them. But you're going to have too many people with less resources. Euthanization, the killing of God's people all in America. You're going to have all types of diseases breaking out. All these things that were prophesied is going to happen right there. After that happens, then for the very few who don't want to go through no more hell, is going to readily receive the mark of the beast. Right after the mark of the beast is instituted, eventually wars are going to break out, going to be aimed towards America. America is going to be taken down. The European powers are going to have full rule on the earth, and they will have rule for a short space. But America will be totally gone at that time. There's not going to be no more prophesying and telling people to come out of her and all that. That day is gone. The rest of the people on the other side of the Atlantic is going to start flocking towards the wilderness at that time. The European powers are going to aim that same destruction they aim towards those in America, towards the Israelites that are living within their countries. That's what's going to happen in this earth very soon. Okay? And the scriptural intellectuals who can actually teach you this are few and far between within America, because all of these preachers in America for the last 10 or 15, 20 years have not been fervent studiers of the Bible. They have been duped by what we call the prosperity movement. So you can't even go to them to get understanding, because the doctrine changed for the last 2 decades. So you can't even go to them because they haven't even learned how to wield the Bible. So these guys are going to be thrown out as useless speakers also, these so-called preachers. I will have questions, but I want to show you something. So let me go into what the mark of the beast is and show you that it's not Sunday law, and get that out of the way altogether, and then I can open this up for questions. All right? This will take all but about 5-10 minutes. All right? Let's go to Revelations. Revelations 13. Right? Start the first verse.
Revelations chapter 13 verse 1. And I stood upon the sand of the sea, and saw a beast rise out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy.
The name blasphemy. Blasphemy is a wicked and evil abomination, something the Most High loathes or hates. Now it says, John seen this beast come out of the water in this vision. It had 7 heads and 10 horns. The 7 heads represents the 7 mountains. The 7 mountains is what Rome is built on. Out of Rome came 10 empires or 10 kingdoms that help him rule within the earth. These 10 kingdoms are now called the European Union. They have morphed themselves into the European Union. Read.
Verse 2.
And they have blasphemy, which means from these empires they teach you how to blaspheme against the Most High. The Roman Empire with the Roman Catholic Church is total blasphemy to the Most High. So they would take people down and teach this new brand of Christianity all around the earth, this new blasphemous doctrine. Okay? So the Vatican or Rome is the mother of these 10 horns. Read.
Verse 2. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard.
That leopard represents Alexander the Greek. Read.
And his feet were as the feet of a bear.
That bear represents the Persian and Medo Empire that break in pieces. Read.
And his mouth is the mouth of a lion.
And that lion represents like Babylon, when you had that lion with eagles in the back. So this empire would have all the past empires wrapped in one. They would have the worships, the satanic worships, the satanic rituals, the ceremonies, the holidays, everything of these ancient empires that preceded it. Read.
And the dragon gave from his power.
Who gave them their power?
And the dragon gave from his power.
The dragon, which is Satan, have given the 10 horns their power. So all the empires in this earth, their power come directly from the dragon, Satan, whose name was Lucifer before he was hurled into the heavens and was turned into Satan. Under the Masonic rule or Masons, they called him Jah or Yah, which means Jabulon or Yabulon. That's his name. That's the one being worshipped from 33-degree Masons. He's the dragon. Read.
And the dragon gave from his power and his seat and great authority.
So who's given your people or your kings and queens the authority? The dragon is, according to the Bible. The authority do not come from the Most High. Read.
Verse 3. And I saw one of his heads, as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast.
So Rome was wounded. Rome was wounded in what we call 193 AD. She was wounded. But she was healed again, and everyone wondered at her because she was healed as America. See, unless you know history and understand what Rome was about, you would understand, unless you know this, you will not know that America is actually the wounded or the healed Rome that was wounded. Rome was known for taking down countries and setting up a democracy through war. And this was a cancer that can go throughout the whole earth to be controlled from one hub. Rome did it at one point, but they were wounded. And because everyone recognized who they were, they could not do it in the same place. So 3 of the horns that came out of the 10 horns made what we call America. French came out of the 10 horns. Great Britain came out of the 10 horns. And Spain came out of the 10 horns. So they moved themselves to America, or what the Bible called Ozarth, and set up a hub there so that people cannot recognize who they are. And then they started their tactics again through democracy, going out throughout the whole earth through military and taking down, like the original Rome took down empires and made all these empires subject to them. Read.
Verse 4. And they worshipped the dragon, which gave power unto the beast.
So in Washington, D.C., they set up architecture, vortexes, obelisks, 5-pointed stars, all types of satanic rituals under Masons, and homage to their god Jabulon, to give Satan his full worship for setting them up again to rule the earth. So their worships were given to the dragon. So all the religions in America were set up to worship the dragon, Satan himself. Read.
And they worshipped the dragon which gave power unto the beast. And they worshipped the beast, saying, Who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him?
Who's able to make war with him? Read.
Verse 5. And there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, and power was given unto him to continue 42 months.
That's a dispensation of jubilees. And we're going to have this in the book to break down these jubilees here. That's no problem. All right? And his blasphemy, he's speaking great words against the Most High. setting up Sunday worship, setting up himself as God's people, lying on the Bible, setting up their people as the authority on the Bible to blaspheme it. Read.
Verse 6. And he opened his mouth in blasphemy against the Most High, to blaspheme his name.
To do what?
To blaspheme his name.
So these empires will not teach you the Most High's true name. They will blaspheme his name. All your credit and your prayer out there in the world, especially in America, is going directly to Jabulon or Satan. You're doing it in ignorance, but still you're doing it. Read.
And he opened his mouth to blasphemy against the Most High, to blaspheme his name, and his tabernacle, and they that dwell in heaven.
And his tabernacle, and they that dwell in heaven. Lying on the Most High, lying on the angels, setting themselves up over the Most High's people. Read.
Verse 7. And it was given unto him to make war with the saints.
So he was set up to make war with the saints. What wars did America assume once the Europeans went over? The American-Spanish War. Remember that war? The war with us during slavery. Remember that war? The war against the North American Indians through cavalry, through their troops. Remember those wars? So they were set up to make war with the saints. See, Rome didn't stop making war with the saints after 70 AD. The saints fled into the wilderness. But once they figured out where a lot of the saints lived in the earth, they set up their democracies and continued their war to exterminate the children of Israel. So no sooner they set up the new America, the French, the Spanish, along with Great Britain, they aimed their lives and their destruction in their wars and their eugenics program towards the saints and God's people Israel. What verse you left off?
Verse 7.
Read it.
And it was given unto him to make war with the saints.
And they started making war with the saints of the Most High. If you want to know who the saints are, read Psalms, the 50th chapter, the 5th and 6th verse. It tell you exactly who are the saints. Read.
And to overcome them. And power was given him over all kindreds and tongues and nations.
So power was given them over every kindred, nation, and tongues. What country was made and actually boast that they were made out of every nation, kindred, and tongue? See, you want to talk about how America was established, but you don't want to speak about the agenda of America and what their focus was, and what people they were aimed towards, and what people they were looking to destroy when they founded America. They were coming after the saints. Read.
Verse 8. And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him.
All that dwell upon the earth shall worship him. That's why we make you question the gods of this earth. That's the reason we brought forth the true name of the Most High. Because a lot of you were tricked into worshiping Satan. And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him. Are you a part of that all? If you're calling on Yah, if you're calling on Jah, if you're calling on Yahweh, if you're calling on God, if you're calling on Lord, if you're calling on Jesus, if you're calling on Allah, if you're calling on Buddha, if you call on any name that's actually promoted within this world, you are worshiping Satan. Okay? Words have force and vibration. Something acts off of what comes out of your mouth. Your mouth comes a word, and through a word all was made. And Satan understands this. So he don't care if you're tricked into worshiping him, as long as you worship him. The Most High told us his name. Call him what he told you to call him. It's that simple. It's that simple. Ahaya. Read.
Verse 8. And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him,
Go ahead.
whose names are not written in the book of life.
And those that are worshiping this God, this deity, this satanic deity, your names have been blotted out of the book of life. Because the existence, the purpose of existence is to find out about the Most High. That's our purpose, to figure out who made us. What is our purpose with Him? So the information we give and the information that the Most High allows us to receive is readily given to anyone who open themselves up and fervently seek the Most High beyond their religions. So it's no excuse for people. It's no excuse. If you are comfortable in the religion you're in based on what's going on there without seeking beyond that, that's your choice. If you seek the Most High in a fervent spirit, in an open heart, He'll reveal it to you. Read.
Verse 8. And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life, of the Lamb, slain from the foundation of the world. If any man have an ear, let him hear.
When the scriptures say, if any man have an ear, let him hear, most men and women have ears on their head. It's not talking about a physical ear here. It's talking about your spiritual listening. Are you in tune with the Most High? So when Christ was speaking, He said that many times. He would speak in public and He says, those that have an ear, let them hear. Because most people will listen, but won't listen with their spirit. They won't understand. What should they understand? Read.
Verse 10. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity.
The powers that have placed this whole earth into slavery, this is their future. You can't set up a system that enslaved the whole earth through debt and think that it's not coming back on you. The Jewish powers of this earth have enslaved the whole earth. They're going down. This is their future. And this proves that money really means nothing. They have all the money. They have more money than we can actually imagine or dream of having. But us people in the earth, the poor of the earth being flat broke right now, we will rule the earth. And they, with all their money, cannot buy their way out of this prophecy. With all their money, they cannot spend their way out of this prophecy. So they figured they would spend it the other way. I'll just spend for vaccinations, spend for abortions, spend for more guns, spend for more wars, and we'll just kill the saints. Because they cannot buy their way out of this. Okay? They will fulfill this prophecy. 1 second. Yes. I'm in class. Yes, do that. And make sure you call Ryan too. Let Ryan know. Yeah, call him. Yes, call Ryan. Hello? Yes. Yes. All right. Thank you. Okay, go ahead. Where you left off at. Go ahead.
Verse 10. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity.
He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. The Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, all these different people who have meticulously used a program to put the whole earth in debt while they control the world resources. This is their future. Read.
He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword.
And if you kill people with the sword and you make an earth that thrives off of war and you kill the people, make swords and make weapons. Don't say you want peace. If you wanted peace, You have power to get rid of all the weapons and not make another weapon ever again on earth. These people are behind the wars and destroy people. So if they want to kill with the sword, what is their future?
He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword.
That's the future. You live by the sword, you die by the sword. That's their future. It doesn't matter how much money they have. They cannot buy their way out of this prophecy. It doesn't matter how much riches and how much power my forefathers had in the Old Testament that received the law, statutes, and commandments on Mount Sinai. Because my foreparents broke those laws, statutes, and commandments, we went into captivity. And we cannot, no matter how much money we have, buy our way out of this condition. The Word spoke it. It was written in the Word thousands of years before us. And we are fulfilling prophecy. They will fulfill their prophecy. Their time is at an end. Their world is at an end. Read.
Here is the patience and the faith of the saints.
We in Revelations 13. Read that again.
Revelations chapter 13, verse 10.
Verse 10. Go ahead.
He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity.
If you lead someone into slavery, eventually you go into slavery. Now let's make this clear. This is not talking about, again, all white people. All white people did not lead people into slavery. Okay? That didn't happen. The Jewish powers financed the slave trades. They financed the auction blocks. They financed the tickets and the bonds and the auctions. They financed all that. They also were in league with the Arabs, seeds of Ishmael, to take our people off the shores. They also was in league with some of the Hamitic races that conspired in the transatlantic slave trade. Okay, so it's not just people just looking at white people. Some of these white people, their families, they came over to America, they were broke and they're still broke. They wasn't a part of anything. They're just being blamed by default. Follow the money. Follow the money. Okay? Read.
He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword.
Those that kill with the sword must be killed with the sword. That's must. It have to happen. Because why? The only thing some of these people understand is aggression. The mistake we make as a people, we think it's time to fight now. And it's not. We have to wait for our Lord to be a part of His army to fight. The weapons of our warfare are not carnal. We must be wise as serpents, harmless as doves. Here's our weapon right here. We can beat you with the Bible. We don't need weapons. We don't need Smith & weapons. We don't need a land-to-air missile off our shoulders. We don't need none. We don't need a Glock. We need none of that. Truth is the biggest weapon. Read.
Here is the patience and the faith of the saints.
This is what the saints are waiting for. We're waiting for this to be fulfilled when those that led into captivity, the people that have financed our slave trade, gets the same thing. That's the patience of the saints. We're patient enough to see those that kill with the sword one day will be judged by our Lord. And our Lord, well, our power, Ahaya Bahashim Yeshaya, our power can do it better than us. So why should I be angry? Why should I try to execute judgment when I know that the judgment is already written and He can do it better than me? Therefore, I can walk in peace, love, unity, without a chip on my shoulder because it's written. It's written. Read.
Verse 11. And I beheld another beast.
Now let's see this other beast. Read.
Coming up out of the earth. And he had two horns like a lamb.
Two horns like a lamb. Now let's look at this beast real quick.
And he spake as a dragon.
Hold up. He had two horns. Read the verse again.
And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth.
What verse you at?
Verse 11.
Go ahead.
And he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon.
So he had, it says, in one moment, let's see here. And I beheld another beast coming out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. So the lamb represents nice and calm, smooth, would never hurt you. That's your Christianity. But yet behind that Christianity, you have a dragon. Just like a lamb. Lamb represents Christ. So they're coming like Christ, like a lamb, but they're speaking like a dragon. Read.
Verse 12. And he exerciseth all the power of the first beast before him.
So he exercises all the power that came out of the beast before him. So there's one empire that have the power of all the beasts that preceded it. Read.
And he causeth the earth, and them which dwell therein, to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed.
So America is causing everyone to worship the first beast. Read. Through the Roman Catholic Church. Read.
Verse 13. And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire to come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men.
Now, most people in Christian dogma are teaching that this is the Antichrist. It's going to have power to come into this earth and make fire come down. No, this is talking about America, who have power with this weaponry to show fireworks throughout the whole earth, like you've seen during the time Desert Storm. All over the earth, they see these missiles shooting back and forth. He has power to make fire come down from heaven. It's talking about their weaponry. Read.
Verse 14. And he deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles, which he had power to do in the sight of the beast.
Go ahead.
Saying to them that dwell on the earth, that they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by a sword and did live.
So you must make an image of the beast, which had a wound by a sword and did live. Now, who had a wound and did live? The Roman Empire. So who came from the Roman Empire, and what image was taken from the Roman Empire and from the 10 horns over to the New Americas? Cesare Borgia. So we were made to worship an image of a beast, of a man, in which a religion would come and deceive the whole earth. But there's more. Read.
Verse 15. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak, and cause as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed.
So if you don't worship the image of the beast that they established, you are an enemy of the government. Read.
Verse 16. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their forehead.
So this is the future. They will receive a mark in their right hand and in their forehead, talking about the mark of the beast. Now let's see if this is Sunday worship. Read.
Verse 17. And that no man might buy or sell.
That no man might what?
And that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark.
Save means except he that had the mark. Now, we're going back to the 16th verse. And I need you to pull up your computer there. Pull that up. And let's get the Greek in Revelation, the 16th chapter. And let's see what it means to receive. And let's see, is it talking about Sunday worship or Sunday law? Let's pull up Eastward here. And you can follow it with us, and we will give you the Greek number so you'll know beyond any shadow of a doubt what America will reveal. Now, this will be revealed, believe it or not, in America First before it's moved into the new world, into what we call the European power. America will do this first. Let's get it. Let's go into the Greek. Just go straight to Revelations here. Just hit, yeah. Go to Revelations. Yeah. Just do it straight off there, 13. You got it. You can get rid of that. And let's pull this up right here, next to the Greek. Go straight down to the 16th verse. Right? And I need you to look at receive. And give me the Greek word for receive. And read exactly what it is there. I'll get it over here. Revelations 13, I'm at 16. And let's get receive. What number they got there?
Greek 13:25.
13:25. Right? And give us the name of that receive in the Greek. What does it say?
A prolonged form of a primary verb.
It's didomi, which is a prolonged form of a primary verb. Go ahead.
Which is used as an alternate in most of the tense.
Go ahead.
To give.
To give. Receive means to give. Go ahead.
Adventure, bestow, bring forth.
To bring forth. Go ahead.
Commit.
To commit. Go ahead.
Deliver up.
To deliver up, like we said in Matthew the 24th chapter, they will deliver you up. Go ahead.
Give, grant, hinder, make, minister, number, offer, have power, put, receive, set, show, smite, with the hand.
With the what?
With the hand.
Go ahead.
Strike, with the palm of the hand.
With the what?
With the palm of the hand.
So receive means with the palm of the hand. Now, let's get Mark here. And give us the Greek number for Mark. And let's see if it's Sunday law.
Greek 5480.
5480 in the Greek. And what is the Greek name for Mark?
Charagma.
Charagma. Charagma. C-H-A-R-A-G-M-A. And what does it say for Mark?
From the same as G5482. A scratch or etching.
A scratch or an etching. That's etching or scratching the skin. Read.
That is stamp.
That is stamp. So they will etch or what you would call scratch your skin in the palm of your hand to give you a stamp. What is this stamp?
As a badge of servitude.
As a badge of servitude. So you will have this mark in which with this mark you would need to serve Satan. It's a badge of servitude. To who? Your government. Who gave your government power? The dragon. There's more. Finish reading.
Or sculptured figure. Graven mark.
Graven mark. Finish reading on in Revelations. You can put that down now. Go into the Greek and it tell you beyond any shadow of a doubt what it is. And mind you, this was written 2,000 years before an RFID chip was invented. 2,000 years before there was any such thing as an RFID chip. So if they was going to bring forth the lie, they had to bring it around the 1900s when people had no idea what it was. And that's when they started bringing this lie about Sunday law, knowing 100 years later they would bring forth an electronic system in which all people would need to be chipped. But first they had to take all the money out of the earth and make you spend tickets to control you. It's all coming together. The same way they can take resources out of the way and give you paper without you arguing, they can move paper out of the way and administer a chip. You are all ready for it. They've replaced money with your card now. They got you used to using something outside of money. So you have been programmed to receive whichever means of trading they give you. And then they administered the RFID chip through dogs, through cattle. And they did this so that you can get used to seeing life forms injected with something foreign and think that it's good. So you are all primed to receive the mark. And if you are a Seventh-day Adventist and believe that it's Sunday law, you will go down to your DMV or to your doctor and get chipped in one moment and make a conscious decision because you are not sure what it is and they didn't institute Sunday law yet. Finish reading Revelations.
Revelations chapter 13 verse 17.
Read it.
And that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark.
That he that had the mark, read.
Or the name of the beast.
Or the name of the beast. So this will be inscribed within your RFID chip in the characters. Read.
Or the number of his name.
Or the number of his name. And what is his name? What is the number of his name? Read.
Verse 18. Here is wisdom. Let him that have understanding count the number of the beast.
This is how you count the number of the beast. Read.
For it is the number of a man.
It is the number of a man. A man has 6 parts. Head, private part, 2 arms, 2 legs. 6. 6 members. The same as your hexagram. 6 parts, which is the star of Moloch or the seal of Solomon. And what did they do with this seal? The 6-pointed star was used to pass the children of Israel under the fire and sacrifice children to the serpent. Your 6-pointed star is a 6 inverted symbol of sacrifice to Moloch or Jabulon or Satan. And that's the mark you'll be taking and bowing as a badge of servitude to your God. It's the mark of a man. What man? Let's go to Isaiah the 14th chapter. It's the mark of what man? It is the mark of what man? Isaiah 14 and read the 12th verse.
Isaiah chapter 14 verse 12. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning?
Lucifer, son of the morning. Go down to the 16th verse.
Verse 16. They that see thee shall narrowly look upon thee and consider thee, saying, Is this the man?
Is this the what?
Is this the man?
Is this the what?
Is this the man that made the earth to tremble, that did shake kingdoms?
Now Lucifer is within the earth. He has no more access to the throne, and he's nothing more than a physical mere man in the earth. So you're getting the mark of Lucifer or Satan, which is the RFID chip, so that he can watch all people and control life and death through a computer chip. With this computer chip, he can turn it off, he can kill you, he can cause heart attacks, he can cause emotions within you, he can control you. You become a part of the beast or the system that's set up to control people. You become part of what they call in Star Trek the Borg. And if anyone get this chip, let's get it. Go to Revelations. Let's go to Revelations 14. To show what happens if someone decides to get this chip. read 14 and 9.
Revelations chapter 14, verse 9. And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, If any man worship the beast and his image, and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand.
So if you decide to get this instead of depending on the Most High, read.
The same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of the Most High,
Go ahead.
which is poured out without mixture into a cup of his indignation.
So if you do this, you will deal the punishments the Most High have prepared for you. Read.
And he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb.
That is clear. That is totally clear. That's the punishment. Go to Revelation 16 and 2.
Revelation chapter 16, verse 2.
This proves that the mark of the beast is not Sunday law. Read the second verse.
And the first went and poured out his vial upon the earth.
And the first went and poured out his vials upon the earth. Read.
And there fell a noisome and grievous sore upon the men which had the mark of the beast.
So a sore will be developed on you that have the mark of the beast. How can that be Sunday law? But if something is etched in your skin and your body is rejecting it, it can develop a sore. There was a report in it was the Washington Post 2 years ago that Verichip or RFID had one big problem, that the people that have received this particular chip have been developing cancerous sores. So how can the mark of the beast be Sunday law? And a grievous sore breaks out on those who decide to get the mark. It's talking about a physical mark, the etching of a skin that's instituted, in which you will not be able to buy or sell or walk into your stores unless you have this spending chip or microchip. And they show this in your IBM commercials when you have an old woman going to a store, look like she's stealing, and she walks out, and at the end of her walking out, the cop is looking at her, and then she receives a receipt. The money is debited directly out of her account without her doing anything. The same thing with another guy. They had a guy who went in like he was stealing stuff. He walked through and it debited directly out of his account. That's coming to America very soon. That's coming very soon. After that happens, then the annihilation goes on. But first, brothers and sisters are going to have to reject the mark of the beast before the destruction. And that's a whole nother class that we'll go into at another time. So I hope you got understanding out of that to understand what the mark of the beast is, some understanding on Revelations, and next week we're going to do a class on the 7 trumps. I want to put that out there so that you can understand what the 7 trumps are about. The 7 trumps were they were blown when Christ was crucified. We're just looking at the residual effects of the 7 trumps. But these trumps have already been played out within the earth. Okay? So when people ask, well, what trump are we in? They don't have an understanding that all the trumps were sounded at a certain point when Christ was crucified. We're going to go into that in our class next week. But beyond any shadow of a doubt, there is proof that Sunday law is a bold-faced lie. It's no different than the false prophecy that this guy Miller put out when he said Christ would come back in 1843 and 1844. The Millerites, who were the founders of the Seventh-day Adventists. They are deceivers. They want us to believe it's Sunday law so that we can get out of prophecy and receive this mark that the Most High told us to deny. Stay in the scriptures and you will not falter. Bless you.